Welcome into the very first edition of Hear Me Out. I'm Jackson Zuber. This is Harrison, Klopp, and Harrison. It's going to be a huge week of sports coming up. We had Monday Night Football. We have the MLB playoffs starting. College football's in full swing. There's a huge slate of fights last weekend. But Harrison, let's talk about that Monday Night Football game, because it was promised to be the most exciting football game, maybe of the year, with the Chiefs and the Ravens playing each other. A lot of people thought like the two teams vying for the number one team in football, but it didn't turn out to be as exciting as we may have hoped. But it did, I think, show us that this Kansas City Chiefs team is the best team in football, and it's not even close. Because I thought the Ravens, before this game, had a chance at that number one spot, but after this game, I don't see it. Who do you think is the number two, the second best team in football?
I'm almost tempted to say the Ravens. I mean, this is a team that had, I think, 14 Pro Bowlers last year. It just didn't matter. Kansas City manhandled them. If I had to say, gun to my head, second best team, I think it's the team that's letting Russ cook, Seattle. I think you got to look at Tyler Lockett, who has been unbelievable. DK Metcalf, I know he had that kind of terrible play where he gets the ball punched out in the end zone, but I really do like Seattle. I think the addition of Jamal Adams is making a difference. I think the secondary still does need some help, but I mean, this is a team that had no preseason like all NFL teams. I think the defense will only get better in the secondary. If you had to ask me the second best team in the league right now, I'd go the Seattle Seahawks.
The Seattle Seahawks, it's a good pick. There's a couple of teams I feel like I could argue with you on that. Maybe, a fellow NFC team in the Packers. I could say the Patriots, because I really like what they've been doing with Cam Newton. I like that defense. But their offense is really interesting to me with how they've been running the ball with Cam. But I'm actually going to go to the NFC South. I'm not going with the Saints. I'm going with the Buccaneers, which before the season started, I was a Buccaneers hater. I felt like, this was almost like Tom Brady going to Florida to retire. But I'm starting to become a believer on this offense. Last couple weeks, they've been playing good on offense. They got so many weapons that Tom Brady's just able to dump the ball off to all these guys around the field. And I believe in that offense. Defense could be a question mark, but I think this offense is going to put up so many points that secondary may not matter.
I do worry about that Buccaneers team because I know it's, there's some recency bias in the NFL. Oh, they look good this week. They're going to be really good going forward. It's like, look who they played these last 2 weeks. Carolina. That's an easy win. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, is okay, not great. And then they've got the banged up Denver Broncos. Like, anyone is going to look good against the Denver Broncos right now. I think that team is good. I really, really do worry about that young secondary, where I think Seattle secondary could get better because they've got a veteran in Jamal Adams that I think could lead the way. I just think it's so young where I don't think they could get there this year. I think, if they do play, I think they, obviously they will play Michael Thomas and Drew Brees again. I think that could be a really problematic matchup going forward for this Buccaneers team. But hear me out, Jackson. I'm not going to brag. I had a great week of betting last week. And I got a 4-bet parlay. I want you to tell me where I go wrong here. So bet 1, Twins game 1, minus 170. Bomba Squad. I love this team right now. Kenta Maeda on the mound. I take him against the Houston Astros. Bet 2, Lakers game 1, minus 200. New Orleans Saints versus the Lions, minus 210. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, minus 125 against the Tennessee Titans. Where do I go wrong?
All right. First of all, 2 of your picks, I think you've done amazing. That Twins team is better than the Astros. That's a good pick. Saints versus Lions. You should always bet against the Lions, unless you're me with the Cardinals last week. Awful bet by me. Lost a lot of money. But where I think you go wrong is 1, in that Lakers Heat game, which we're going to talk about later. But 2, I wouldn't say you go wrong necessarily, but I think it could be dangerous, that Steelers Titans pick. And it's not because the Titans are a great team, because they're not. They're a good team, but they're not great. They're around the top 10. They're not in the top 10. But what the Titans do is that they go out every week to play football, and they know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to play hard defense. They're a really good defensive team. They're going to run the ball right up the middle, right into your face. And Ryan Tannehill isn't going to turn over the ball. He's become a much better quarterback since leaving Miami. And so it worries me. It worries me.
Listen, I'm not buying into the Titans as much as I did last year. Hear me out. Some teams are just blessed with an easy schedule. I think your Cardinals are one of them. But The Titans, the past 2 weeks, I mean, they barely squeaked by the Jaguars, and they barely squeaked by my Vikings, who are terrible. They actually go up against a team this week in the Steelers that I think are really deep. You know, they've got a good defense, obviously. Ben Roethlisberger, though, he's a guy that year in, year out gets banged up. He does. But what happened last year? Sat out. He's going to get healthy. Obviously he's going to get healthy, and he's playing like it. Deontay Johnson's made another step forward. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, has made a step forward. Eric Ebron, what an addition there. James Conner, you know what you're going to get. It's good productivity. I think they're a very complete team. Listen, this spread is -1 with Tennessee and Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh, being the favorite. I think they could win by much more. I think this Pittsburgh team, my friend Peyton Gallagher says they're the third best team in the NFL. I'm not going to go that far. I think they're really good, though.
Look, they are a really good team. They're not top 3 in the league, but they're a very good team, and that's why I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying be careful with that, because you're saying that they're playing these bad teams, and they did play them close, but that's just how Tennessee wins football games. They go out there, and every single week it's going to be a close battle, no matter if the team's better than them or worse than them. That's just how they win. And so I don't really buy into that they've just been playing bad teams. Do I think they're going to beat the Steelers? I don't really know. But they could. But where I know you're wrong, and we're gonna move on here to that Miami Heat Lakers game, is saying that the Lakers are going to win. Hear me out. The Miami Heat are going to win not only game 1, but they're winning this series. Because the thing with the Lakers is that LeBron is great. I'm not saying that the Lakers aren't good. I just like how this Heat basketball team is playing right now. They're playing with so much aggressiveness. They're so good on defense. They're playing like every second of the game is for their lives. And when you face a team like that, who also has great shooters and a great supporting cast, guys like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler is the centerpiece of this team, and he's perfect for them. That hard-nosed style, I think the Lakers are going to have problems with it, and I think it's going to be a hard-fought series, but I give it to the Heat.
Listen, I love the Heat as much as the next guy. I mean, I picked them to go to the finals, and I look like a champion right now, saying that I got that right because the 5 seed, they've surprised people, but it really shouldn't. I mean, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, Dragic, they've been amazing, but at some point there's going to be a battle that's just too much. This Lakers team, I think, is just too much. I mean, I look at the teams that have beat LeBron in the finals. I mean, those really good Warriors teams, the Spurs, the Mavericks. I mean, I looked at like Goliath. They were so crazy good. This Heat team's good. I don't think they're that good. And I think, you look at LeBron's road to these finals. He's played duos every time. He's played Dame and CJ. He's played Harden and Russ. He's played Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler don't really stand out when he's gone through those type of duos. And it's not like they're just those duos. All those teams are complete teams. Maybe not as complete as this Miami team, but still complete teams. I think this series will be closer than any series the Lakers have played so far. I do have the Lakers in 6, though.
I hear you there. I hear you with that they've been facing off against these duos, but I just think that this Heat team is so much more complete than the rest of these teams. They got a young shooter in Tyler Hero who's becoming a really, really good scorer. He's not great yet, but he's shown those flashes in these games, and he's going to be a big help. Jimmy Butler is one of the best defenders in the league and can score. I mean, that's the thing about these teams is that those teams are offense first, but then have really good defenses. I think this Heat team is playing hard and defense first and then has a really good offense.
Well, I think we can both agree that the Heat have surprised people by going as far as they have. One team that probably surprised people by not going as far as they were supposed to go was the Los Angeles Clippers, who fired Doc Rivers today. Kind of, a surprise in some regards. He's really only had 1 year with that team. But I want to give you 2 NBA takes for my opinion. I love the NBA offseason, by the way. I think 2 coaching vacancies should go to these guys. I think first the Pelicans, who are really exciting with Zion Williamson and that young core, should go with Doc Rivers, a guy who is a really, I think, good head coach. Maybe not great, but he's won a finals. I think they should give that job to Doc Rivers. And I think the Clippers, who should they go with? I think they should go with a guy that can build a culture there. I mean, that's a team. That's what this Clippers team really struggles with, is building that culture. I mean, that's a team that collapsed in that Game 7 against the Nuggets. Who's a guy that builds culture? I don't really look at the NBA so much as, wow, the culture there is unbelievable. I think college basketball coaches really can build culture. And when I think of college basketball coaches that can build culture, obviously I look at, UNC and Duke. I don't think Williams and Coach K are, leaving their jobs. Make an offer, though, to a guy I really like, Jay Wright in Villanova. And I know he's kind of turned down some NBA, rumors. You give him a blank check. I think Jay Wright has shown in year out that these kids, I mean, they're not the best recruits that come to that school, small Catholic school, in Pennsylvania. He turns them into winners. They buy in. They play for him. I think Jay Wright is just what the Clippers need.
Harrison, the thing is, I agree with you. I like that Jay Wright pick. I think that's a really good matchup with the Clippers. But where I'm not seeing eye to eye to you is saying that Doc Rivers is the right pick for New Orleans. Because you said it yourself, the issues in LA were the culture. And then you're going to throw him in New Orleans and have him try to build a culture around these young stars, all these great players, guys like Zion. Like they have such a bright future ahead of them. And I just don't know if he's the guy to build that up. He's getting up there a little bit in years. I'm not saying that. Like, maybe he wants to retire soon. I don't know if I buy that. I think he can keep coaching.
I think the culture, though, in New Orleans has already kind of been formed. I mean, I think you look at the NBA, I think there's some few really good coaches. And by the way, I gave you that Jay Wright pick, and I gave you that Doc Rivers pick. I'm shocked that that's the one you disagree with. Because I think Doc Rivers is, an established coach. I think he can really get this Pelicans team winning, something Alvin Gentry kind of struggled with. And granted, Zion was injured, but I think Zion, I don't know how healthy he is, but we expect him to play this year. Doc Rivers has shown that he can win basketball games. That's the type of coach New Orleans needs.
Look, I see that. I understand what you're saying. I feel like we're not going to see eye to eye on this one 100%, but I believe that there is one thing that we will see eye to eye on, and it's this Thursday night football game, because I think we'll have the same team winning. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Broncos.
Jets. Come on.
I guess we won't. We'll see about that next week, and also we will see hopefully you next week as you tune in to another edition of Hear Me Out.